Repeat child molesters back in prison again for the second time, and for a long time this time. You know, this is a sad story. We know that 917,771 registered sex offenders were in the United States in 2020. Okay? Out of that, we have different categories. Some of the sex offenders are adult cases, but many of those are child molesters of those registered sex offenders. What's even worse is this is the ones we know of. There's many, many child molesters on the streets right now that have not been caught yet. Some have never been caught, and they're up in age now. So 917,771, that's a lot. I would double that number that there's that many more out there that we have not caught yet. 2020, 365,348 missing children in 2020. Yes, a lot of those are runaways, but then they fall victim to child molesters, sex trafficking, child pornography films. A lot of them were abducted, murdered, and raped children out of that 365,348. They say 1 in 6 of those missing children are child victims. So let's just take 1 out of 6 out of that 365,000. 60,000 of those children are victims of child sex and sex trafficking. Homeless children, runaway children, and abducted children. Now, I'm talking about children today, but we have almost 50,000 women a year in the United States who are also used in sex trafficking. I think we worry about a lot of things that we don't need to worry about, and we need to worry about this problem right here. I don't ever see the presidents, and now I don't want to say ever, they may have and I missed it, the presidents, I'll just use presidents, talking about this issue. I know coronavirus has been the issue, okay, but we've talked that to death. The shots are coming in now. I don't see a lot of effort being put into this except for your local law enforcement agencies catching these people. There is a marshal's list and an FBI most wanted list for these child molesters. But it's really getting bad and we need to fight it. And we're getting more child molesters in prison. And we are doing everything we can to protect these sorry so-called human beings. Because when you molest or harm a child, it's so hard for me to call you human. You're a sicko. But it is the duty of the prison system and the jails to protect these child molesters, although it doesn't always happen. You know, people say, I don't understand how child molesters get killed in prison. They have places for them to check into. They have, protective custody they can check into. Well, folks, prisons are small cities behind walls. If inmates or an inmate wants to get at a pedophile or child molester in prison, they will find a way to get to them one day. May not be today, may not be next month, it may be 6 months or a year down the road, but if they want to get to them, they'll find a way to get to them. So when you wonder why you see all these articles about child molesters killed within 1 week after being in prison, inmate kills a pedophile in prison. I mean, we see them all the time. And you wonder how it happens? Well, it happens. There's ways for them to get to them. Look, if inmates kill somebody over some money that's owed to them over drugs, they're darn sure not going to worry about killing somebody who's a child molester or pedophile. If anybody tells you this doesn't happen anymore, You need to just Google child molester killed in jail, child molester killed in prison, pedophile killed in jail, pedophile killed in prison. You'll get some recent ones already in 2021. We're only in March. And you're going to get some already for this year. You know? And it doesn't matter that some prisons haven't had that happen. You know, inmates call them hard camps, easy camps, good camps, bad camps. Some prison camps, this won't happen. And then they move or transfer this inmate, child molester, to another prison camp, and they have a whole new world they have not expected. And they may get killed at that camp. There's a lot of experts that have nothing known about being in prison, nothing known about working in prison, but they'll sit here and tell you that this can't happen, it shouldn't happen, it doesn't happen. Educate yourself. Now, for those of you that are worried about that, I talked about that. For us who are worried about the children and not real worried about the child molesters, but we'll do our job. We'll do our job, care, custody, and control. We'll stop somebody from hurting them if that's our job. But for all of you out there, watch closely these venues, please. You can be the best parent in the world trying to do everything you can and something still happens. Watch your children working on a computer, using the computer. Don't let them in chat rooms. Don't let them talk to strangers. Monitor what they're doing on their computer. Keep them away from Facebook, Moco Space, Craigslist. Of course, your children may not go on there, but the predators are on Craigslist. Want ads, message boards. If your children have a phone, check their text messages. Don't let your child tell you, this is my phone, it's my private life. That's your child, for goodness sake. You're the boss, not the child. You're the boss. You're the mama. You're the daddy. You're the grandpa. You're the grandma. Take that darn phone away from them and check it. Take that darn computer away from them and check it. You want them to grow up to be an adult, right? Make sure they're safe. Watch out when you go to carnivals, festivals, circuses, amusement parks. Keep an eye on them. They can be gone in seconds, and you won't find them in these big crowds. What are these game places where the kids go to play games? Game arcades. Watch your children at the game arcades. Don't think, oh, they're so safe at the game arcade, I'll go shopping throughout the mall for 3 or 4 hours and leave them at the arcade. You know, in my opinion, that's a no-no. Don't do it. These predators are at these places. You won't recognize them. They know how to walk around, disguise themselves, and look at things, and they can grab a child and be gone in a flash of a moment. Schools, don't let your kids have a lot of access to being alone. You know, get them on the bus, pick them up, whatever they need to do to get going. I know some of you have children that have to walk home. I know there's just no way around it. Both parents are working. If you can find a family member to pick them up, get the family member to pick them up. If you can't, educate your child on strangers pulling up in a car, on a bicycle, or on foot. Get away, tell them get away and don't talk to them. But do what you have to do to keep them away from these sick predators. These child molesters, pedophiles, the numbers are just unbelievable. They've always been out there. Even back in the 50s and 60s they've been there. We just didn't talk about it as much. We didn't go after them as much. Now we're catching them. Of course, we have technology that's helping us to catch them more, okay? And, you know, a lot of these pictures I'm showing in my video today, you go, well, some of those will be presumed innocent. Well, some of them may be presumed innocent, and they have a right to a trial, and they have a right to an attorney, and they have a right to a jury of their peers. But I'm going to tell you what, a lot of these folks that are being caught calling for girls and being arrested, calling for young boys and being arrested, the majority of them have tons and tons of child pornography on their phones and home computers. That's a crime in itself. I've seen people with 30 counts, 30 different child pornography films, sentenced to 30 years in prison, for that kind of thing. So I'm going to tell you, they deserve to go to prison. Why would you even have that type of video on your cameras? And when I do these videos, I get a lot of people who back up these child molesters and rapists. Well, they deserve this and they deserve that. Well, yes, they deserve a fair trial. They deserve a lawyer. They deserve to be safe in prison. And we do everything we can to keep them safe in prison with 21 officers on duty and 1,100 inmates. You can't watch every corner of the prison. If the inmates, if they're listening to this, they know what I'm talking about. They don't like child molesters anyway. And those people who work in prison, they know what I'm talking about. So, you want to play with fire, you want to be a child molester or a pedophile, go to prison, roll the dice, folks. Go to prison for life, abduct a child, rape a child, murder a child, let's go for the death penalty. Thank you very much. I'm Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please subscribe.